folks. Anybody that's not seated, can we please take a seat? We're going to get this show on the road. My name is Wade Wheeler. I'm the president of the Oakhurst Area Chamber of Commerce. And we are here tonight to bring the candidates to our community so you guys can get your questions answered. So thank you all for coming tonight. We really, really appreciate it. And without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Tim Madden. He's our moderator this evening. And he will talk about the format and stuff. Thank you, everybody. That was easy. Thanks, Wade. And thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. We are exercising all of those things that make us such a strong and influential nation. Peaceful assembly, which is not a privilege that everyone gets. Free speech, and I hope this evening we keep our free speech in a very respectful, courteous way, and the right and the privilege to vote. So thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to run through the formats. I know they've been published, and I think we've handed them out. So the format we're using tonight is that each candidate will be allowed 15 minutes at the podium to introduce themselves, present their platform, and answer questions. The answering of questions will be within that 15 minutes. So we might have a candidate that has left enough time to answer a single question, or a candidate that's left enough time to answer several questions. Each candidate has the choice of how to use his time. Or that's what I was wondering about too, but I don't think. Okay, no, the judges are not speaking tonight. Thank you. I'll take care of that. The order of the candidate presentations will be determined by a draw, which we've done. Questions have been received in advance from the community. No open questions will be taken from the floor. If a question arises from the floor while the candidate is speaking, fill out one of the yellow forms. Do we have an example of the yellow form? Yellow forms, right there. Fill out one of the yellow forms, and one of the representatives of the chamber, raise your hand. One of the representatives from the chamber will retrieve it. And if we have time for those additional questions, we'll take those questions as well. One of the things I do want to emphasize is that all of the candidates are here, available for questions, and probably anxious to take your questions and tell you their stance on a variety of issues. The candidates for Superior Court Judge are here, but will not be speaking this evening, just because we're trying to get everyone home at a decent hour. Catherine Rigby and Elena Ibarra are our two candidates. They have information back there and are open and willing and excited to take questions from you all. So the way that we're going to do this tonight is first we're going to hear from the assessors. And the first person to speak will be Brett Frazier. After Brett, we will hear from Jorge Torres. Supervisors will speak next, and I would like to announce that Bo Campbell will not be here this evening. There was a family friend emergency that took him down the hill. So Bo will not be available. And I'm sure if you've got questions specifically for Bo, he also will be available probably by phone or through his website to answer those questions. But of the other two candidates, the first supervisor to speak will be Bobby McCauley, and the second supervisor speaker will be Mark Reed.
All right. So, got to say I'm pretty excited to be here in Oakhurst, not just because I grew up here, but I'm proud to be here at this facility. I'm a board member here, and it's facilities like this that really make our community hum. It's what it's about, right? It's about community. So I don't know if you folks know, but this center here serves as an evacuation point in an emergency. It's a Red Cross shelter. We have the Madera County Food Bank coming out here as a food distribution site. The board is working with Arbor Works to create a wood program that will bring wood to low-income families as well as elderly in the area. It's a PSTS community relief station. So, like I said, it's organizations like the Oakhurst Community Center that really make our community great. So, just happy to be here. Brings back a lot of fond memories for me going all the way back to Mountain Heritage Days. So, I want to talk to you guys about my number one priority tonight, which is fire. But before I do, I just want to let you all know a little about who I am, what I'm all about, how I came to be here. So, as I said, I was born and raised here in the Oakhurst area, graduated from Yosemite Unified High School, went to college where I worked my way through, received degrees in managerial economics as well as business administration. Got a great job working as a regional manager for a restaurant chain in the area, but moved home about a decade ago, started working in the insurance industry with my folks. There, I had the opportunity to really get to know my community, really get involved in the community. Served on a number of boards, including the Boys and Girls Club of Oakhurst, as I said, the Oakhurst Community Center Board, Eastern Madera County Foundation, the MD22A Sewer Advisory Group, which is where I really got my start advocating for the needs of residents in the area with the county, as well as our local Rotary Club, where we raise hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 10 years to give back to organizations like the Community Center. So about 3 years ago, an opportunity arose for me to apply for the District 5 Chief of Staff position working for Supervisor Wheeler. So I threw my name in the hat, was fortunate enough to be picked for that position, and I've been advocating for the needs of residents in the area at the county since. Proud to say we've done some great work over the last 3 years. We have an affordable housing project which will be coming to the Oakhurst area over the next year. We're making huge strides on addressing excessive fuel loads in the area so we can have safer communities. We can harden our communities against wildfire when it comes. And so that brings me to that priority that I mentioned earlier that I want to touch on before we get to Q&A. I do want to make sure we have lots of time for questions because I love questions. I love hearing what all of you have to say. But fire, right? It's not if fire happens, it's when fire happens. So I truly believe Madera County needs to take a more proactive approach to mitigating risks against fire. And so what I mean by that is supporting our emergency responders, making sure that they have the right tools, the right equipment, and proper staffing to get the job done quickly, get the job done right, and get the jobs done safely. You know, but it's a two-part issue, right? We need to make sure that when they go in to work on suppressing fires, that they can go in safely and they can protect our communities. So we have some issues with excessive fuel loads, vegetation management issues, problems with the management of both our public and private lands, right? So the county needs to start redirecting more resources to our local agencies like Coastal Resource Conservation District, which is bringing millions of dollars into the community to help us manage our private lands. Organizations like Yosemite Sequoia, RC&DC, which is managing projects right now in Sugar Pine and Cedar Valley to address fuel loads on both public and private lands, because we know fire does not respect jurisdictional boundaries, right? So we need to think bigger. We need to work with our local nonprofits, and we need to ensure that they have the tools to get the job done right. And so that's what I'm about. I'm about creating safer communities. I'm about public safety, supporting our emergency responders. And so this platform has earned me the support of both the Madera County Deputy Sheriff's Association as well as CAL FIRE 2881. So they trust that I will be there for them when they need me most. And so with that, that is my number one priority. I do have a lot of things on my agenda, including affordable housing, homelessness, issues with Airbnbs. But as I said earlier, I want to make sure that we have some time for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and yield the rest of my time. Tim?
Thank you, Bobby. The first question is in fact about fire. It's from the audience. How will you specifically handle land management for fire safety? How will you help low income with fire clearing?
So when it comes to addressing fuel loads on private lands, we need to take a bottom-up approach. And what I mean by that is we need to organize communities so that way they can get together and harden their homes and harden their communities. So I've helped create a Firewise Madera program. We went out, we secured $325,000 in federal funding for a 3-year pilot program, and I'll let you know that program is working. So we've been able to organize over 10 communities over the last 18 months so they can come together and help harden their community. Beyond that, that organization has been able to leverage those funds to bring back more money into our community. So I've been in conversations with CAL FIRE, and it's looking very promising. The grant they applied for will bring back $1.3 million to help those homeowners harden their homes. And so this is the kind of investments that we need to make to ensure that we have safer communities so that when fire comes, we're more prepared.
Thank you. What are your 3 top goals and how will you achieve them? That comes from the audience.
So my top 3 goals is 1, fire, 2, local control, and 3, trust. And so I've already talked a little bit about fire, but I want to talk to you about this idea of local control. And so what I mean by this is you, the people that are here today, need to have more say in the services that are provided to you. You need to have more say in how your facilities, your infrastructure is maintained. So as your supervisor, what I will do is I will continue to work with property owners associations. I will continue to put in the time to work with service organizations like Rotary. I will continue to put in the time to work at our local nonprofits like the Oakhurst Community Center as well as the Boys and Girls Club of Oakhurst. So that way we can ensure that we have local control over the services that matter most to us. Lastly, trust. I want to build more trust in our community, not just in each other, but in our local government. And I believe the way we do that is by working transparently in the community. Like I said, when we bring control over our services to the people in Eastern Madera County, we will build more trust. And for me, I think trust is all about a track record. It's about results. It's about navigating positive change for the community to make sure Eastern Madera County remains the best place to live, work, and play. And so when I look at the other candidates, I guarantee you that not one of them has more experience bringing forth positive change, being an advocate for our community, and delivering results for the people of Eastern Madera County.
Thank you, Bob. This was from online. What is your solution to dealing with the homeless situation in Madera County? What is government's role and the role of private citizens, faith-based organizations, and other nonprofit groups?
So I think we have to understand that the issue of homelessness is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Oftentimes we see solutions coming down from the state and say this is how it's going to be. That does not work. It does not work for trash. It does not work for homelessness. It does not work for the residents of Eastern Madera County. So when we talk about homelessness, I don't want to just focus on issues of behavioral health. I don't want to just focus on issues of substance abuse. It's important that we recognize that there's people out there living paycheck to paycheck right now, couch surfing from house to house because they can't afford a place to live. So we need to work on developing more affordable housing like the project I referenced earlier. Affordable rentals dedicated to our workforce cannot be bought and sold. And so I've established relationships with local organizations, self-help enterprises. We help dedicate $1.6 million to this project to get it done, to bring it to residents here in Eastern Madera County. And I'm excited to say that they want more. So we will develop more affordable housing to ensure those folks that are couch surfing have a place to live. As far as folks with behavioral health and substance abuse issues, I'm happy to say that the state is actually taking steps to address this issue. So right now, going through the legislature is an idea called care courts. We're talking about mandated care for people with substance abuse issues as well as behavioral health issues. And so we're organizing county staff to ensure that when that legislation goes through, we're able to hit the ground running. So that's my two-step approach to homelessness.
Thank you. If you are elected District 5 supervisors, please identify your top 3 priorities for, this is in bold, for District 5 Measure T improvements?
So Measure T steering committee is going on right now. And the big debate on that right now is whether or not we invest those dollars in more infrastructure or we invest those dollars in more maintenance. And I'm telling you right now, we need to ensure those dollars go to maintenance. We have to maintain what we have before we continue to build more. And when we talk about infrastructure build out, there's plenty of money out there from the state as well as the feds that we need to go out and capture. So currently right now, I'm working on grants that will improve Road 420 all the way through to North Fork. I'm working on grants that will provide emergency access so we can have safer communities out in John West. So this is how we do infrastructure build out, it's through grants. When we talk about Measure T, again, I want to emphasize that that money needs to be used for maintenance so we can better maintain what we already have.
Thank you. From online, do you support or oppose tax increases as a means to balance the county's budget and discretionary funds?
No.
From the audience,
No, Tim, I really don't like to talk. To be honest with you, I'm a much better listener. So if I can answer a question simply and plainly, I promise that I will.
Thank you. How are you going to address the fire insurance? This is going to devastate the workforce. For employers, the workforce can't afford the costs of housing.
So when we talk about insurance, I think I already mentioned that that's my background, right, is insurance. And that's part of the reason I wanted to work for the county, is because we need to address the insurance crisis, particularly in eastern Madera County. But I think it's important to recognize that this is not a mountain problem. When we talk about growing insurance rates, that's affecting folks down in the valley as well. But the way we address this is threefold. One, we support our emergency responders, make sure that we have adequate staffing in order to suppress fires when they occur. Two, we have adequate water storage, so that way, again, when fires occur, we can put those out. And three, what was three? It's an issue of fuel loads, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about ensuring that when a fire starts, we're able to suppress it. And if we can lower risk, if we can lower the risk of catastrophic wildfire in the area, insurers will come back into the marketplace. And so there needs to be some major changes at the state level. They're slowly making a couple changes. I think we had a town hall on this about a month ago, where the insurance commissioner's office, they came out and they let us know, hey, we're making some changes. And we want to start looking at individual homes to ensure that they have defensible spaces around their property. Because if they have that, then we need to that needs to reflect on their insurance rates, right? And so it's nice to see the state is slowly making some changes. But here at a local level, again, it's staffing, it's equipment and water storage, and it's fuel loads.
Okay, in the last minute that you've got, what exactly is your mission statement?
My mission statement is it's about community, right? And that's why I'm here. I think I touched on that a little bit to start out. And so I was born, I was raised here, and I see a lot of people out in the audience that helped raise me. I see Randy Papike. I see Rhonda Salisbury. I saw Mary Pence earlier. These are the people I love and care about. These are the people, this is the reason why I'm here. It's because of these people that helped raise me, that helped make me the man I am today. So that's my mission statement. It's about community.
Excellent, thank you, Ryan. And now I'd like to call up Mr. Mark Reed for your 15 minutes.
before I start, Tim, before my time starts, I've always been taught that when you have a public meeting, you start it off with prayer and with the Pledge of Allegiance. Is that fine?
It is fine if you use that as part of your time.
I will, because it's that important to me. John, Carol, can you do a prayer? John still here?
Yeah.
And John Wheeler, I'd like to ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. He is our current chairman of the Board of Supervisors. Everybody in military, please salute. The rest of us, put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My name is Mark Reed, and I'm running for County Supervisor, 5th District, and I have 8 of the most important reasons why I'm running here tonight, and that's 8 of my grandchildren and 2 more, both of my daughters here. I'm going to own a few things, because a few things have been running around Facebook constantly. I'm an unabashed conservative constitutionalist. And in saying that, I also have 48 years of business management experience behind me and 37 years of business ownership behind me. Because of that experience, I've also learned it's really important to have a very pragmatic approach to everything that you do. You listen to everybody. You listen to both sides of the political aisle. You listen to the people who don't have a political voice. You listen to the community and what the community needs are. When I think about Oakhurst, I think about my childhood. I think about my father giving me one of the Mountaineering Day coins, 1969. I remember coming up here as a child, going up to Yosemite National Park. I also remember leaving this community and going to Los Angeles and living quite a few years in Los Angeles, and this is where I got my business experience. I moved back up here 13 years ago, rented for a couple of years, then bought my house, and all of my family lives here. This community is deep in my heart, and it's the most important community to me because this is where I'm going to get buried. This is my retirement. The reasons why I'm running for county supervisor is very simple. You grow up in Los Angeles, you spend quite a few decades there, a couple of them, I'm 65. You see the corruption of government. You see the deterioration of communities. You see the problems arising from birth. What we're watching here, which is beginning to become very problematic, is the lack of housing, the lack of attention to our fire departments, our public safety, attention to the homeless issues that are going on here, attention to businesses and business development within the community. These are the problems that we need to fix and address. My agenda is really simple. It's our insurance issues here. The insurance issues, fire insurance here in Madera County, particularly East Madera County, is the property tax problem our parents have. Fire insurance is driving people out of their homes. Fire insurance is now a part of the considerations when you buy a home because your mortgage may be less than your property insurance premiums. We need to address what the county hasn't addressed in the last 16 years. That is, the county of Madera has 13 contracted fire stations with CAL FIRE. 6 of them are not manned. They're manned by they call firefighters, which delays the response time by a lot of time. The insurance companies use ISO ratings, they use risk factors, they've used 3 because there's an algorithm. I posted an article that was published in San Diego just a couple of weeks ago. And it identified an outside consulting firm that did the risk assessments for insurance companies here in California. 3 main things they look at. Very simple. Because they no longer come to the houses and really assess it from there. They assess it based on topography. Well, I'm sure Tom can't change that. Our Board of Supervisors can't change that. But they also look at manpower. They look at the fire stations, they look at water distribution, they look at the ability to get out there and put a fire out. They look at the fuel loads. Those are the three main things. Bobby touched on it a bit. We haven't addressed the fuel load problem in East Madera County. The fuel loads are immense, both on the public and private properties. On public, because I've been endorsed by 5 different congressmen, I'm going to ask them to present a piece of legislation that the federal forestry department create a buffer zone between the county, residential areas, and the fire department. Because like Bobby pointed out, fire does not care about any jurisdictional lines, property lines, county lines, doesn't care. When it starts going, it goes. We saw that in Cascadel. Cal Fire and the Sheriff's Department did an incredible job saving that entire community. I think only 1 or 2 homes burned down up in there. But when you go up there and you visit, you can see the immense heat just based on the timber that was burned down. We can do a better job. That's the #1 priority of your tax money going to the county, is fire and public safety. The next one is a housing issue. I will, and I have been talking quite often about our Airbnb problem. Affordable housing, rental housing. And I'm sure that there's going to be a couple of questions in there, so I'm going to jump right now to the Q&A part of it. Tim, fire away.
Well, you're absolutely right.
I
So
knew it.
the first question, how do you intend to attract on-call paid firefighters for our area when many stations are understaffed?
Right now, the paid called firefighters are getting $15 an hour. I can go to Jack in the Box and make that much money. I can become a team supervisor and make $17 an hour. You can't attract somebody to risk their lives and pay them minimum wage. So we have to work on that #1 aspect. I also want to team up with the tree companies up here in getting the grant money, and also through American Indians, the tribal councils up here, of getting grant money to train all of our tree guys to get the certification as a firefighter. They'll have 2 certs by the time they're done. They can become a tree guy knowing how to cut down trees, and they can become a firefighter. That's how you do the training, because that is one of the responsibilities of the county, is to train the paid called firefighters. But it's got to be both. You can't attract somebody to work for you at $15 an hour and expect them to risk their lives of pumping up a mountain with a couple hundred pounds of gear.
Thank you, Mark. From an online question, what is your plan to limit the amount of Airbnb and other short-term rentals that are squeezing the housing market in eastern Madera County?
We have approximately 850 houses of Airbnb. The Board of Supervisors created this problem by not dealing with it from the very beginning. It decimated the Bass Lake economy as well, because people were tired of paying $8,000 a week to rent a house there when they can rent it in town. We need to come together with the realtors, property owners associations, homeowner associations, property managers, and also all of the chambers of commerce. Public input as well, to be able to create ordinances of exactly where Airbnbs should be allowed in the tourist areas. We need to protect the integrity of the bedroom communities. We need to protect the integrity of our retirement communities. However, you can't just throw everything under the bus right away. Because of those 850 houses that are already licensed and permitted to do an Airbnb, you grandfather them in, because that would disrupt a major economy. $5.3 million from East Madera County goes down to the flatland. That would disrupt your budget quite much, wouldn't it, Tom? Now he says, no, it wouldn't. We're that rich. We can just throw out $5.3 million. Anyways, that's the way to address the Airbnb issue. And then it's keyed into all the affordable housing and everything else, but I just addressed that one particular thing, because I know there's been a rumor running around saying I'm completely against Airbnbs. We need to define Airbnb versus bed and breakfast, because bed and breakfast is a lie-in stay for a lot of people up in East Madera County to supplement their income. Bed and breakfast is on-site management. There's a lot of single women out there that have a home, that are struggling along, but they have a converted garage, they have a room in their house, and they don't mind renting it out. That's fine when it's on-site management. Airbnb problem that we're facing today is out-of-state, out-of-county investors coming in and buying up houses at $50,000 or $100,000 more than the asking price. That's what I want to address more than anything. But the individuals who are supplementing their income, no, we need that.
Thank you, Mark. How are you going to lower insurance costs?
I think I kind of addressed that based on addressing the paid call firefighters, the fuel loads, bringing in Tom McClintock's endorsement. He put together a very good pilot program up in Lake Tahoe. I've been able to log out some of the older trees in the contracts, and we're taking out the underbrush fuel. So that is a major one. There's a lot, but I know there's other questions in there. But I kind of touched that already.
Okay, thank you. This has two questions. In Madera County, we have a right to farm as established by our leadership in county government. What safeguards are in place to protect these rights? And then the second question, what if someone destroys your fence or intentionally lets your animals out, or worse, kills one of your animals?
That's a simple crime of destruction of private property. There's also a lot of crimes pertaining to killing animals. I mean, unless you're harvesting them to eat. I mean, if a neighbor did that to me, I'd be pretty upset about it, put it that way. The right to farm, I don't know what's in the particular ordinances within the county. But I do believe in the right to farm. We have the right to produce your own food. So I would never stand in the way of that at all, period.
Excellent. Can you please bring back Bass Lake Court if elected?
Yes. Nice.
Another concise answer, thank you. What is your plan to bring some type of good-paying job opportunities to eastern Madera County that are unrelated to tourism?
I spoke about this in the last town hall as well, and that is 3 months out of the year, we get a lot of influx of tourism, we get money, but we need to have a solid business development program here in East Madera County. This is up to the county supervisors to advocate out, to go out and find businesses that are willing to come here. One of the ones I wanted to attract here, which is RCRC, has got a few companies that want to do it, and that's developing a pellet program. We have all the fuel up here. We just need the manufacturer to take that fuel, grind it up, put the soy into it, and compress it into pellets. The community that takes it into their community, this manufacturing company, would get the pellets at cost. Now think about this for 1 minute. The tree companies are coming in and they're paying to dump the green waste, the trees and the branches and the leaves all ground up. They're paying for it. They're getting paid to take in the material that they're going to create pellets for us. Pellet stoves are probably one of the most economical and efficient ways to heat in a house nationwide.
Thank you. We have 2 minutes left, and this will be the last question. What exactly is your mission statement?
My mission statement is to keep this county the best county in all of the 58 counties within California. We are a family bedroom community, a safe community, a community that I grew up in both here and in LA, where you can send your kids out at the crack of dawn. They play all day in the streets. They come home when the sun goes down, and the neighbors call your parents up and tell you exactly what your kid's been doing, and you know you're going to get a licking if you did something stupid like tear somebody's fence down, or throw a rock through somebody's window, or borrow their bicycle. That's my mission statement, is bring and keep the traditions and the values of Madera County of what we have grown to know through the last 100 years.
Thank you, Mark. So